All right, guys, this is Coach Eric coming at you from Crossfit 214. This is regarding our summer shred challenge. We are here to talk today about the foods that we are looking to eat and help build our diet around so that we can see our goals at the end of this challenge. Now, what we want to talk about is kind of a common language so that you and your coaches have something to discuss throughout the challenge. First, we want to talk about kind of the general mismatch between the diet, the standard American diet, and what humans were designed to eat, right? If you take an animal out of its natural habitat and you feed it a diet that is highly processed and keep them in an environment such that it is not what they're used to. For example, we bring animals into a zoo like a gorilla and we feed them strange, odd-looking biscuits, a diet that they're not used to. Not only do they not thrive, but they get sicker and they die younger. Human beings are animals just like any other thing on this planet, and for the large part of us, we have a very mismatched diet. Now, many of you may have already figured that out and you've started changing your diet accordingly, and that is great. Others of us are still kind of getting to there, but we're hoping that this challenge, we're gonna find some things that really work for us. So the best approach is to, minimize the foods that are not working for us and maximize the whole foods and provide a foundation, then personalize your diet around that food. All right, guys, so then what we're gonna do is the best approach is to make whole, minimally processed foods our foundation, and then personalize our diet depending on your own unique combination of genetics, health, activity level, circumstances, and goals. So next, guys, what do we need to prioritize? Well, we talked about it before, but we need to prioritize minimally processed foods. That means foods in their most whole and natural state, whether that be meat or a vegetable or a starch. We want to see them as close to a recognizable form as possible. Next, we want to focus on foods with the highest nutrient density, right? So, example, sweet potato versus a can of soda. Both have similar amounts of calories. One, though, the sweet potato obviously has a whole lot more potassium, vitamin A, than the can of soda, which is really just empty calories, no nutrient value. And so we would obviously be looking for the better choice there as the sweet potato. And finally, the carbohydrates that we do take in, which we'll talk about shortly, what is a carbohydrate, but those we would like to see them to support our activity level instead of supporting your fat. All right, guys, next up we want to talk about the three major macronutrients that we are going to be consuming during this challenge: protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Carbohydrate is the fuel source for all of our activities. The brain runs off of it, so do the muscles. We're gonna get that mainly from vegetables and fruit, okay? We want to obviously make most of those foods from vegetables and to a lesser extent fruit. And then finally, we're gonna get carbohydrates from starches such as rice and potato and maybe some oats, for example. Those foods, however, that's going to be dependent upon particular goals, which we'll talk about with our coaches. The second macronutrient we want to talk about is protein, right? Protein is the building blocks for our muscles. Within protein, we have amino acids. Those amino acids are found within meats mostly, right, in the largest quantities, as opposed to there are some amino acids, there is some protein in your vegetables and fruits, but not nearly as much and not nearly as complete. So a complete amino acid profile, one that has all that the body would need, would be found within meats such as beef, lamb, wild fish, chicken, pork, any animal, something that had a face, that had a soul, right? Or if you didn't pluck it from its nest like an egg, would eventually grow a face. The final macronutrient we want to talk about is fat, right? You're gonna get some of your fat from your animal products. The meat does contain some fat, but additionally to that fat, we will also get fat from things like oils, avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, coconut oil. We can also get it from nuts and seeds, avocados, for example, walnuts, Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, almonds, of course. And that will be taken together. Those three macronutrients are going to make up all the protein, carb, and fats that we're going to be measuring during this challenge. All right, guys, next part of the challenge we want to talk about is individualizing your macronutrient ratios to help you get towards your goals. Now, we have two broad categories here that we're going to work as a starting platform that will most likely change throughout this challenge. We'll be working with your individual coach to hopefully tweak this kind of macronutrient breakdown in order to get you towards your goals faster, right? So the first type of athlete we're going to talk about here is the type of athlete that may already naturally be somewhat lean. They're not looking to lose, large amounts of weight, and their goal instead is to maximize the protection of the lean muscle mass they do have while looking to cut down any extra body fat they may be carrying around. And in order to do that best, we find that a carbohydrate level of about 40% will help not only support the activity level here at CrossFit that they're doing inside the gym and maybe outside the gym, but also it is a level that will help stimulate additional muscle growth, right? So we have a carbohydrate of 40%. Our protein intake is gonna be 30% of our calories. And the reason we have that high is protein is so important for an athlete, right? This number may seem higher than other amounts you've heard, but those are usually directions given to athletes and non-athletes alike. Well, I'm telling you, the athletes are a lot different. Your needs are a lot different than a couch potato, if you haven't figured that out already. So if we have carbohydrate at 40% and protein at 30%, our final macronutrient fat is going to make up the difference, and that is going to be 30% of our calories from fat. Know that as the carbohydrate levels go up, the fat is going to come down, right? Those two act as kind of seesaw-like teeter-totter. Our protein here is going to remain relatively fixed. That would go as outside of the challenge as well. So if you are looking down the road, right, and you're still active, but maybe you're not as high intensive activity, doing a lot of crossfitting per se, those carbohydrates may come down. That also could be on a rest day as well. You may work with your coach here and find that you do really well on days you're not crossfitting, bringing down that carbohydrate number so it's not quite so high. Our second category of athletes, these are athletes that are looking to lose a little bit more weight, maybe have some metabolic issues, right? Obesity or even excess body fat to a much lesser degree are all signs of a little bit of metabolic issue, right? So for those athletes, we find that the carbohydrate at such a level as, say, the first athlete can be a little bit problematic on maintaining a nice even blood sugar. So what we're going to look to do is start those athletes at a much lower level of carbohydrate intake at around 25% of total calories. We're going to have a protein intake of 30%. That protein is the same level as our first athlete because you guys are both athletes and that protein requirement is not really going to change a whole lot. The protein, not only will it help you preserve the muscle mass you do have, but it's extremely satiating. So another reason to make sure that you're getting that protein is it's going to help you feel fuller longer. And then, just like before, if we've got protein at 30% and carbohydrate at 25%, the remaining 45% is going to need to come from fat. And so, for that athlete, we're going to need to see more intake of fat, not only seeing as the protein is still going to be fixed, the fat from those animal sources are going to be about the same. You're probably going to need to use some more supplemental fat, maybe coconut oil or extra virgin olive oil, extra avocado, something to make up that difference that's not going to be coming from carbohydrates. Remember that fat is much denser than carbohydrates gram per gram, so we're going to see volume-wise you won't need to eat as much of an avocado or a nut and seed to get your fat or to get the same amount of calories as you would from lettuce or other vegetables for carbohydrates. All right, guys, wrapping it all up here, we've gone over the 3 major macronutrients, the starting template for our macronutrient breakdown. From here, we want you to get with your coach, set up your macronutrients based upon your activity level, height, age, weight, and then we want to change those settings in your MyFitnessPal so that when you are logging your food daily, you can see how you are doing and if you're getting to those goals, right? They are just goals. These are roadmaps. We're not saying that you must have to meet these numbers, but we're saying the closer you get, the more often you get close, the faster you will get to your goals here at the end. I wish you all good luck in this challenge. If you have any questions, your coach is never more than an email, a text, phone call away. We'll be here at the gym to help you out with any other questions. Good luck, and I hope you have a great challenge.